4 minutes at 2 o'clock. We're just getting our YouTube live stream started. For those of you that are not already members, you can go to the YouTube UHA II channel and follow us there as well.
If anybody has problems changing your name or accessing some of the features, I'd be happy. You can send me a message. Who else is assisting us today, John? Is it?
Hey, Ben.
He's gone. Anyway, send me a message if anyone has trouble. And Daryl, you're assisting too.
I'm pretty
right?
sure we are.
Okay. So anyone has any problems changing your name or accessing the features, talk to, and Tony, are you assisting too? Is it Daryl, me, and Tony? Okay, talk to one of us, and we'll try to assist as we can.
You and welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just the three of you, I believe, Michael.
Okay, so Daryl Grayson, myself, or John, if you have any concerns, any problems getting in, please talk to one of us. If you have your, we're also, some people like to put their information in chat as well. If they have questions, that's fine. We'll try to monitor the chat box as well. And welcome everyone. I think John stepped away for a moment and now.
I'm still here. I'm just checking to get the YouTube live stream up and running, but okay. I'm listening.
All right. And once again, we have some folks there just have their phone number. That's fine. If you want to use, I don't know, just first name, that's fine. Just so we can call upon you. If you have a question, it's much easier to call upon you with a name. And thank you all for coming. And as John mentioned, once we get going, we'll ask everyone to mute yourselves until you're caught upon so that we don't get a lot of background noise. Welcome. As people are signing on, we'll be getting started in just a moment. John is getting the YouTube channel going and he's back.
Absolutely. So thanks, Michael and Daryl Grayson, our two outstanding co-hosts. Also, while we wait, just want to call everybody's attention to my fellow board members, in addition to Michael and Daryl, Tony McDonald-Tabor, Richard Rice, I see both of their faces, Joanne Fountain, Dr. Helen Sellers, Aaron Raymond. That's your UHA board for 2021. Can't believe it's already a new year, folks. There's Helen. How you doing, Helen? Hey, Richard.
Doing great. Hi, everybody.
How are you?
Great.
I'm going to post the agenda in the chat and we will get started, folks.
Let's get off of here for a second.
We've got, as usual, we got another full agenda. There we go. So hopefully everybody can see that agenda in the chat. I hear somebody crunching on some cereal, so just before we officially start, make sure that you're on mute. We'll try to do this so we don't have to mute everybody, but if we keep hearing Captain Crunch in the background, we'll have no choice. Welcome, everybody. It's a new year, a new day, a new leaf has turned, the worm has turned for America for sure. I'm John Heath, your UHA president. Want to welcome everybody and thank you for taking some time on this rainy Saturday to join with us and talk about what we can all do collectively to make our community better. Before we get started, as is our custom, as always, we want to ask our elders for their permission and agreement that we may proceed. So one of those folks that I see, Mr. Brown, Mr. Rice, somebody who's got a little more gray hair than me. Of course, I don't have any hair. If you guys want to just wave your right hand and give us a thumbs up, whatever, that would be great, knowing that we have the elders' permission. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Real fast, for those who may not know, United Homeowners Association 2 was formed in 2016. We are a nonprofit mutual benefit corporation representing the residents of unincorporated Windsor Hills, View Park, and View Heights. So if you live roughly between Stalker, La Brea, Crenshaw, and Slauson, plus or minus, there's, some of our territory actually goes south of Slauson. And that line going by Crenshaw kind of zigs and zags. But if you're in that general area, then you are eligible to be a voting dues paying member of UHA. And we certainly encourage all of you and those who you know, other neighbors, make sure you spread the word. The more of us there are and the more support we have, the more influential we can be. And as you all know, there's a lot of important issues affecting our community. So we want to make sure that we weigh in on those accordingly. Let me start off by asking everybody to just reflect on the fact that we're sitting here not even at the end of January, and we're looking at over 414,000 of our fellow Americans that are dead, roughly, from COVID-19, almost 15,000 in LA County alone. Those are some incredible, sobering numbers. I want to make sure to remind you guys to continue to take this thing seriously. Stay at home as much as you can. If you have to go out, take all possible precautions, mask up, glove up, keep your distance socially, etc. We got to do everything we can to protect ourselves and our families and our neighbors from this thing. And on that score, I'm going to take a few minutes, if you all will humor me. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to play a little video, and then we're going to have a special presentation from one of our neighbors, so bear with me. Here we go.
The toll of COVID-19 on African Americans is tremendous. 1 in 1,000 in the country has expired from this disease. This is decimating the population. The healthcare system does have built-in inequities. It is systemic, it is endemic, and it is not new.
I work at a beauty supply, and one of my coworkers was sick, but she was like, it's not coronavirus or anything. And I'm like, girl, I have a bad immune system. I hope it's not. And the next thing you know, I felt sick. I couldn't breathe. I could barely walk to the bathroom, and I was by myself when it got like really bad. I called the hospital. They told me not to come. And I'm like, I need help. And they're like, do you feel like you're about to die? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, just stick it out. I felt like they told me just stay home and die. I was overdosing myself on flu medicine because I felt like that was the only thing that could probably save my life. And that's when I found the clinic.
In this community health center, in this underserved community of color, I've seen the damage, the fear, the anxiety that the pandemic has done in communities like mine. And there's a certain level of distrust of the medical community in amongst African populations. Some of this going back toward, things like the Tuskegee experiment, where African American men in the South were not treated for syphilis for an experimental purpose. African Americans suffer from disparities in so many areas: high blood pressure, diabetes, HIV, now COVID. Some of the disparities would lead to distrust because they're like, why are we sicker than everybody else? One of the things I'm passionate about as a community health provider is to let people know health is your right. Health is something you have access to. You just have to educate yourself despite the system.
I feel the same way about doctors as I do with the police. Who can we call for help? The people who we're told to call, we really can't call them.
When they hear it from someone like me, they may trust that more. I can change someone's life and their trajectory just by changing maybe their way of thinking about something, so they don't end up in the hospital or end up dying.
I almost lost both my parents in 1 week. My dad fell and he couldn't get up. So they took him in to the hospital that night. They said they were treating him for pneumonia. They never mentioned COVID, not once. And my mom had it, and then when we got to the hospital, the doctors completely ignored COVID. They said she has renal failure, we're gonna treat her for that. I said, if you allow them to keep you here, you might not make it out of here alive. And we made the decision as a family to not admit her. So we decided to bring her back out to her primary doctor. You feel helpless. That's the worst feeling. Knowing that you can't do anything about it.
When African Americans interact with the healthcare system, there is often discrimination on the part of physicians. They're not always given the same care that their white counterparts are given. That plays into the systemic racism that's built in. Many patients don't go because they're afraid. I hear them calling me on the phone, terrified of what should they do. I can't breathe, I've taken my breathing treatment, and you're telling them, go to the emergency room. No, I can't go to the emergency room, I'll die. As far as they're concerned, they have a valid reason to fear for their life if they try to go in and get help.
My dad, he passed away alone. And this could have been avoided. It's probably the most frustrating thing that I'll probably never get over. My dad lacked the treatment that he should have gotten, that my mom did get eventually, and ended up saving her life.
That's a picture of our first wedding reception.
They're showing
And then there's another picture of our 40th one.
And there's the last picture he took with his grandchildren.
He could be happy the last few minutes of his life because he had these moments. The last phone call that I got from him, he said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. He said, I love you one more time. And I said, all right, and you got your clothes and I'll see you real soon. The next morning, I called the hospital and she said, oh, Mrs. White, we tried to call you yesterday. She said, Mr. White is gone. He passed away. And I was just so shocked. I couldn't realize how he was gone that fast in one day. It was nothing I could help anybody with because I didn't have anything to go on. So,
It's not working.
I'm gonna be starting over again from scratch. I do believe that my daughter and my son saved my life. If they hadn't brought me to the doctor, I believe that I would have just been ignored and not taken seriously until it would have been too late.
Both my parents was not treated for COVID, and my dad ended up dying for it, and my mom had it, and she was dying if we hadn't saved her life. It's unforgivable. We all live in this country together, so how can those death rates and those COVID cases be so? Why is it such a big gap? So if the virus doesn't discriminate, who's doing the discrimination?
Now all I hear about is Hispanics and Black people getting it. And I'm quite sure we're all breathing the same air, so how come I'm the only person getting it and people that look like me? Us as Black people, we get pushed back, we don't get taken seriously. So it's very serious for us to get the respect we deserve.
Black people always know their lives matter. It's how do you make sure everyone else understands that too? A stress to the nation, to the society of something like COVID, it exposes all the wounds, right? And I think it gives us, in the medical community and as a country, some really clear objectives that we can work on. Because you think health should be an equalizer for everybody. We got a vaccine coming out for this. Can we make sure it gets to these communities so now everybody's protected?
All we want is equality. And we've been screaming that for decades. Our skin is 1/3 of an inch thick. Think about all the hurt and the pain and the deaths over the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in this country based on 1/3 of an inch.
We want a better future We want everybody to be respected. We want all people to be able to get the same treatment. We can't go back to 3/5 of a man. We are all whole human beings, and we need to all be made whole by the system in which we're raised.
All right. Thanks, everybody. That was powerful stuff. This is clearly a major public health crisis. And as our neighbor, who I'm about to unmute and introduce, Dr. Derek Butler, the Chief Medical Officer of THE, the Help Everyone Clinic, said, it is exposing all the weaknesses in our system. So, Dr. Butler, my Morehouse brother, thank you for being here. We got a couple of minutes, and 2 or 3 minutes, can you just share with your neighbors the 1 or 2 most important things you want to tell us about this virus and what we and all of us should be doing? And I'll put up that link to the LA County website while you speak.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone, our neighbors here. I'm thankful to be part of this group in this meeting today. Hopefully I don't know if we may have a separate meeting to even answer a few questions, but I want to emphasize, I've been a provider, a primary care provider in Los Angeles for 20 years, and a View Park resident for 18 years. And, I have a dear love for Los Angeles and this community, and especially the African-American community here. I work at the 2 Up Everyone Health and Wellness Centers, which is on 38th and Western. And we have multiple sites in South LA. I want to emphasize a few things, and as in the video we noted, and the patients and the families that were also in the video, I think did bring up much of the angst, anxiety, and fears that we have in this community. I'm about prevention, I'm about hope, and I want to really bring that message. So to the 2 things that I would emphasize, obviously John mentioned this earlier, obviously maintaining kind of those physical precautions in terms of masking when you're out, maintaining social distancing, avoiding gatherings in your home, and encouraging that amongst yourselves and your family members. I think sometimes we let down our guards during the holidays, or when we think, our close friends and family are fine, but just, make sure that they understand that message too, especially if you're part of the higher risk populations of elders or with underlying conditions. And the other thing is, I think right now, our besides doing that, which we should have been doing now and have been, I think, since this started almost a year ago, if you think about it, we've been dealing with this COVID pandemic, is now the next tool we have is the vaccine. And I've been really right on the front lines of the vaccine effort. I've seen and heard much of I think the information that's been out there, a lot of the concern people have about the vaccines. And I will say a few things just to point that out. And I've given John a link he'll present to you, which links you to the LA County Public Health Department and their listing of locations that you can get the vaccine if you don't have one yourself.
And that's posted in the chat too, by the way.
Okay, and I know some organizations like Kaiser, if you're a Kaiser patient, they have their own avenue for that. I think the VA, if you're a veteran, has their own avenue for vaccine. But again, depending on, you may talk to your own physician about it also if you're interested in getting it. I am recommending the vaccine to all of my patients. I'm recommending this vaccine to the community. I walk the walk. I've already gotten vaccinated myself, have received my 2 doses of Pfizer vaccine already. I'm still here living and can talk about it. And I can explain, I'm not going to sit here and say nothing happened. I did get a sore arm for a day or 2 with each vaccine, which is what I think is the most common side effect. But overall, I didn't have any problems with it. And I feel much more comfortable now. Now, of course, the issue about the vaccine is doesn't mean I'm free to walk around without a mask and, go out and start having a party. All the vaccine has been proven to do in its studies was to prevent COVID disease and illness, and with 95% efficacy, meaning about 95% of people who took the vaccine did not get COVID versus the other folks who were not vaccinated. So, and that's the best protection they saw from the vaccine, which is excellent compared to no protection. But we don't know if the vaccine prevents transmission to other people. So the idea is that you could be vaccinated, but still be exposed and have the virus. Your vaccine prevents you from getting sick, but could you still carry it to other people? That's why they still recommend masking and distancing. So the vaccine is mainly to protect the person who's vaccinated from illness. Okay, so remember that. So remember, the vaccine isn't a free pass. So I want to just emphasize that. So number one, and the vaccine through its trials was found to be safe, effective, and approved by the FDA for emergency use because of the pandemic. The issue now we're having is with distribution. As you know, you might have seen the news, it's rolling it out, et cetera. It is available. It has been recommended for 65 and older to get it. Healthcare workers already have access and can get the vaccine. I'm going to be real. Many of the sites around the city, and this is what is astounding. I've had, even in my clinic, healthcare workers, about a third of healthcare workers are actually still declining the vaccine for various reasons and their own concerns, or some are waiting, want to wait and see. And I mean, that's a person's right. But my personal feeling of working with patients who've had COVID, having patients die of it, seeing people sick with it, and friends and family who've gotten it, I think it's an essential part of us protecting ourselves, our community, and helping to bridge that gap. As we mentioned, we know more African Americans have higher death rates from COVID and infection rates right now. And we know the hospitals are already full, for the most part. So it's difficult even to get treatment if you are sick. And sometimes what's affecting our healthcare is treatment for other problems because the hospitals are so crowded with COVID patients. This is funny too. If you read the LA Times, they had a story about people who are actually at vaccine sites in LA aren't even part of the risk groups, but are coming to get vaccinated. And in fact, the South LA sites, you'll see half the people there are from Beverly Hills in the West Side, et cetera, because they don't have centers set up on their neighborhoods, but they're coming over to this area to get vaccinated. And I think it's really ironic when people who live around the corner from some of the places in South Los Angeles and Compton or on 41st and Avalon, et cetera, aren't getting it, but people from Brentwood are lining up to get the vaccine. So I think I really want to make sure that, and I know I've spoken too long, John, so forgive me, but I'm really
no problem.
Sending a message competently from an African-American physician who lives in this community, who understands the risk. And I feel, and again, the risk of COVID vaccine is infinitesimally smaller than the risk of actually getting COVID disease. If you look at the studies, and I'm going to end on this, 70,000 people in the studies for the vaccine, no one died in those studies. There were no deaths from vaccine. But we know there are over almost 400,000 deaths from COVID-19 infection in this country. So again, people are worried about what's going to happen if I get this vaccine. Remember, COVID disease is killing people as we speak. No one is vaccine, and all it can give you 95% protection. So I'll leave it at that. And there's a link to where you can actually access it, sign up for an appointment and get vaccinated. It's going to continue to be rolled out. They're hoping that by next month or so, it should be available for more groups besides the older 65 groups. And please, John, you can share my email if folks maybe have a question or two. I don't mind answering it. You might give me a time to do that, but I don't want to take any more time in the meeting for this. So thank you for listening. I do hope this gives you more information, inspiration. Please ask your own physicians if you need to have questions too. So thank you.
Dr. Butler, we really appreciate that. And I'll certainly put your email in the chat. I know our neighbors appreciate that as well. And that's, critical information. One neighbor pointed out, I see a couple of comments in the chat about the fact that the first 2 doses that have been made available are 2-dose vaccinations. And then I guess Johnson & Johnson, if I'm remembering correctly, has a single dose that's coming out. So, as you suggested, it sounds like we all should be in contact with our healthcare providers and just get plugged in with whatever vaccination works for us, and within the grouping, because obviously right now only those who are 65 and older or healthcare workers are eligible. So
Yes.
I appreciate you taking the time to join us, Dr. Butler. We know you're a busy guy.
Problem. I would just answer that one question on the side, and also the point. The reason some people are getting it who outside of those groups is because the vaccine has a limited shelf life once you remove it from the freezer. And so if there aren't enough healthcare workers or people in the risk groups, they will give it to someone who's there because they don't want to waste vaccine. They don't want to throw it away. So that's why some people come and they just wait. You could be a 35-year-old healthy person, but if you're there and they have extra vaccine and no one else to give it to, they're going to give it to them. So, but if your priority, they will pull you, most sites will pull you because you meet the criteria laid out by the public health department. I know some of the pharmacies have started, but I think they're maybe inundated too. You might look at some of the sites that have more capacity through the fire department or some of the clinics like St. John's and the bigger places. Like I think there's one on Crenshaw, in the Forum, etc. But the waits can be long.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Butler. I just posted your email in the chat, and we'll see if we can, for those that still have questions, obviously you can email Dr. Butler directly. That's very gracious of you to offer that. There was somebody who posted something about statistics, and I'm pretty sure if you do a search online, I don't know if the county statistics are broken down by ethnicity, but that that information is available.
Yeah, there's lots of information online about the vaccine. The current ones approved, Moderna and Pfizer, both need 2 doses. And they think that the immunity is at least 1 to 2 years for both of those vaccines after actually getting the vaccines. So the hope is that if we can get people vaccinated by that 1 or 2 years, the pandemic will be over, okay? Or they may try to do booster shots and like they do the flu shot. Remember, you get a flu shot every year, right? There may be a need to do this type of vaccine yearly or every 2 years based on the amount of immunity it generates. But right now they know at least a year for both vaccines. After that, I think that was a question someone went there.
Yep. And even once you're vaccinated, still continue to practice safe protocols. Don't gather with folks not in your household, mask up, etc. So good information. Thanks, Doc.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We appreciate you, bro. Keep up the great work out there. We're proud of you. All right, folks, moving on. We're running a little late, but that was important information, obviously. Let's talk about Wayfinder. Real fast, I'm sure everybody on the call knows, unfortunately, earlier this month, the first Saturday in January, in fact, a young man was killed who was a staffer at Wayfinder Family Services, formerly Junior Blind. Apparently, he was trying to break up a fight, and 2 teenagers are currently charged with, I don't know what type of murder, but, they're locked up facing homicide charges as a result of this. And just, it's really heartbreaking and sad to see things get to this point for our neighbors that live close to Wayfinder or otherwise have been paying attention. It seems like over the last couple of years, things have been spiraling in the wrong direction over there with just a series of incidents. I'm going to just kind of give a quick overview, and then I'm going to hand it over to our neighbor, Tracy Purifoy, and others who have formed a committee on behalf of UHA and our community to deal with Wayfinder and make sure that we not only get to the bottom of what has happened for things to get so far sideways with what's going on at that facility, but most importantly, that the situation get corrected, because obviously we know they're providing great service. We know that our community and young people and foster youth are in need. There's a lot of history that we don't have time to go into now about how that particular service came to be provided at that facility. Obviously, it was done in a manner where our community was not notified that that was happening. And that's a conversation that we can get into. But the bottom line is, it appears that we have a facility that for whatever reason, whether it's mismanagement, whether the facility needs to be modified in some way, the type of clients that are being served there needs to change, if they need more security, 24-hour hotline for things that are going on. There's a number of things that probably need to be addressed there. We've been in contact with Wayfinder directly. I had a conversation with their COO, Jay Allen. We had a lengthy meeting last week with Supervisor Mitchell and her staff about it. We got a chance to speak to the #2 deputy at DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services, about it. We're hoping that they get involved and provide some very critical review and oversight of that facility, because again, it's sad that this young man, David McKnight Hillman, lost his life. But for those folks that were aware of what was going on, it was in fact, some of the former staff from the facility came on the news and basically said they weren't surprised that this happened. So just a very unfortunate situation. I'm gonna look at my notes to see if I'm forgetting anything, but Tracy Purefoy, do you wanna unmute yourself and kind of give the community your report as the chair of our new committee? Thank you for doing that, by the way, Tracy.
Oh, no problem. You're very welcome. My name is Tracy Purefoy, and I live in the community. I've been here for 15 years. And when I heard about what happened at Wayfinder, I was just astonished. I had no idea what was going on. I knew that we would see some of the teens wandering around the community, but it goes much deeper. We have been finding out and communicating with the LA Sheriff Department that there's quite a bit of vandalism taking place, car break-ins, numerous amounts of car break-ins. Some homes have been burglarized. So many things are going on, and a lot of people that I'm finding out and communicating with several of our neighbors, people feel unsafe. A lot of people have young children. We have a lot of retired elderly people in the area. And so one thing that we enjoyed about living in our community is that we've always felt safe here. It was a little niche. And so now at this point, we're wondering what's going to happen. We're all making sure our doors are locked, our gates are locked. So, a lot of the youths also are going onto other people's properties, jumping over the fence, various things like smoking marijuana, things of that nature. And I'm sure that a lot of you are aware of that. So I initiated a campaign to call the Supervisor Holly Mitchell's office and send emails, and a lot of the neighbors did. And I'm happy to say that she is concerned, and she has been somewhat responsive. So at this point, I, along with others in the area around Wayfinder, have volunteered to be on a committee, and we just call it basically the Wayfinder Committee, and we're going to focus on addressing the community's concerns with the COO of Wayfinder, DCFS, and also Holly Mitchell's office. So we are going to have regular meetings. We're going to keep our foot on their necks, no pun intended, until they address our issues, until we are happy with the outcome. We're going to do whatever needs to be done so that we can feel safe again. And that's pretty much the bottom line. And I solicit everyone to please remain involved, remain diligent. Call the sheriff department. If you don't have the number, you guys need to put the number in your phones, have them on speed dial. It's very important so that we can be part of the statistics, so that they'll know what's going on. You guys continue to go on next door and communicate. I'm going to also put my email address in the chat. Please feel free to email me. You can absolutely be a part of this. because we may have to get to a point where we put on our tennis shoes, go in front of Wayfinder and put some signs up there and call the media and say, look, this has to stop, not in our community. You know, we're very concerned about the foster youth. We're very concerned, but at some point we have to draw the line with these businesses that come into our neighborhood and they're not vested. We're vested in our neighborhood. This is where we lie our head. This is where our children ride their bikes and their scooters throughout the neighborhood. They're not safe. You have, I hate to say it, I'm just being perfectly honest. A lot of the youth there are regularly using drugs. They escape from the facility. They leave at will. They absolutely have zero control over the residents that live in the facility. They leave, they go out, they cop drugs, some of them, they smoke drugs, they bring the drugs back onto the facility and they sell them to the others. Okay, so you can imagine what's going on. So you also have sexual deviance. You have people with sex crimes also that live at these facilities. So you're not just having the good kids who are displaced. We can paint a pretty picture, but we're going to be realistic. We're going to keep it real. A lot of these people.
Tracy, let me jump in real fast just to augment the point that Tracy's making. Something that came up in the meeting we had with Supervisor Mitchell and her staff. As Tracy is saying, yes, the kids are pretty much able to come and go from this facility. That's due to state legislation that recently, I guess, decided to set up this STRTP, or short-term residential therapeutic program facilities, which Wayfinder is part of. So the idea is to not, have them on lockdown per se, but yet and still, when you have kids that have serious issues, as Tracy's pointing out, with drug, alcohol, and other addictive uses, some other kids that could be victimized by sex traffickers or have other issues themselves, it really creates a challenging situation. And then to be right in the middle of our community, obviously that's a problem. Go ahead, Tracy.
So we want to essentially meet with the administrators at Wayfinder and remain in constant contact. And so through this committee, that's what we're going to do, is address the issues and give them an opportunity to come up with a plan. But we're not going to allow them to placate us. We're not going to allow them to brush it under the rug. We're going to make sure that there is a solid plan in place that everyone is happy with. So as I said, I'll put my name and my email in the chat. Feel free to email me. I will keep you abreast. I will, we'll attend future meetings and keep in touch with you all. It's really important that we as a community come together on this issue, because
Absolutely.
When you have communities such as Brentwood and Beverly Hills and Santa Monica, Malibu, they're not having this. They're not having these shenanigans in their area. They nip things in the bud really quick. So, that's something that we have to do.
How did this, I think just the respect for the community, first of all, and
well, hang on 1 second. That's Miss Maxwell talking, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, give us 1 second. We're going to come to Q&A in a minute, but we'll come back to you. Tracy, were you pretty much done and ready to wrap up?
Pretty much done. Thank you everyone for your time.
Okay, and one thing I wanted to point out too, in addition to Tracy on the meeting and participating in the committee, are our neighbors Otho Day, Haywood Thompson, who's the principal of 54th Street Elementary. He called our attention to a lot of problems that have been happening at that school, which is right across the street. Jacelyn Hall, Anita Nelson, Sherry Bradford, Lori Glasgow, and Derek Richardson, some other people. So we appreciate all of you guys for stepping up and participating in this. The person from DCFS that was at the meeting is named Ginger Pryor. And she said that she would follow up with something called a coordinating council to make sure that, from the county standpoint, they're going to do a thorough review and provide oversight. But as Tracy said, and as we all know, a little bit of public transparency and spotlight on this is important and needed, especially given what's happened. So Ms. Maxwell, I think you had a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, yes. Just to go back, number one, how did this happen where they changed over? That's total disrespect and disregard for our community. I think we do need to go back and address that. I also think that
Let me do it one at a time. So on that first point, that's an excellent question, and I mean that is something that we honestly don't know 100%. We have our suspicions about, why and how that happened. And maybe, unfortunately, the supervisor and her staff weren't able to join us. They weren't involved in that since she just took office. That would be the former supervisor. But it would seem that at some point, Wayfinder, when it was still the junior blind, may have been having some issues maintaining, and of course they're welcome to come on and speak for themselves, and I hope they will at some point. We told them about the meeting today, and I don't know if they're here or not, but at some point they made a decision to expand the amount of services and the clientele at that facility to take advantage of some of these other state programs. Obviously, you guys know the facility. I had the pleasure of taking a tour of it a couple of years ago. UHA's founding president, Dr. Art Fields, has been a supporter of the junior blind for years. So he took me over there, introduced me to the COO. It's a fantastic facility and they do some great work. But I think what happened, Ms. Maxwell, long-winded answer to your question, is they saw an opportunity to expand their service and generate more revenue by servicing more and different types of clients. And it kind of took off from there. So the county had a need to temporarily house kids that were in DCFS system that needed a temporary way station while they're looking for foster homes. We all know there's a crisis in terms of Black kids primarily being adopted into foster homes. So there you have it. It was a convenient facility. So I think that's how we got there. That does not explain, however, why we were not notified as a community, because we just looked up and the name had changed, and then people were asking us, hey, what happened?
Okay. But does it fit? See, this is the question. They may have made a decision, but does it, and how does it fit? And it, like you said, if kids are free to go and come and they have no control over them, then we then as a community have to figure out how to deal with that either way. So I think we need to go back to find out how many kids, what's going on within that facility, and really what are they doing to supervise kids when they're not there. And I'd like to work with Tracy on her committee, because right now you have something that happened without the support or the acknowledgement or recognition of the community. And the question is, if it's if kids are allowed to go and come, is this something that fits with a community like ours? We need to go back and address that.
Absolutely.
And then support them in whatever they need to do, but we cannot allow people to run around in the community unsupervised, preying on our children.
Absolutely. Point well taken, and we appreciate that. And let me just take a minute. Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. I see Michael just posted. I should have done this at the beginning, but we were rushing. If you have a question and you want to be recognized, just raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, you can press the raise hand button. If you're listening by phone, I think you can press star 9 to raise your hand. That way, that'll help us maintain order and recognize as many people as we can. Anybody else want to ask a question or weigh in on the Wayfinder issue?
John, I just want to say one thing about some things in the chat. For Tracy, she's getting a lot of comments about people following up on her committee. And so if she could just reiterate her information, or I don't know if she's put it in the chat already, I haven't seen it yet, how to contact her and follow up to be on that committee.
Okay, I'm sure Tracy will handle that. And I will also type in, there we go. There's Tracy's email. And then for anything related to UHA or community issues, that email address always works as well. That comes directly to us. You can also go to the website and contact us that way. Anything else on Wayfinder?
John, this is Carolyn Emery from Olympiad. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I raised my hand.
We can hear you. Go ahead,
Okay,
Carolyn.
great. Great, because I'm driving. Thank you so very much for UHA and Tracy's leadership on this issue. I am very nearby. Again, I'm closer to Monteith Park, but very near the facility. And I'm just wondering if the committee, one of the things that is discussed, perhaps with the supervisor, is to relocate
You faded out a little bit, but I think
several
you
other facilities that perhaps are located in a more. Can you hear me?
You're fading in and out, Carolyn, but I think I got the gist of what you're saying. You're asking about the potential of relocating that facility to another location, correct?
Correct.
Right. Yeah, those are things that obviously will have to be discussed. I think we're in the very early stages of looking at accountability and transparency and really just trying to unpack, as Ms. Maxwell was saying, how did we get here? And more importantly, what do we need to do going forward?
It says mute. Okay.
So,
okay, John?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Nicholas.
All right. Hello, John. Everyone, I have been a resident here in View Park for over 40 years. In that 40 years, I had the distinct honor of being the president of UHA for 12 years. During that time, we had a great relationship with Foundation of the Junior Blind. As a matter of fact, we used to have our meetings there in their auditorium. When I left, when I left the presidency of the UHA, I was very disturbed to see that it had turned over to Wayfinders. Now, I'd like to share with everyone an incident that happened. I live about 3 blocks away from Wayfinders. And there was an incident where young people were right around the corner from my house, and they was smoking weed. And then I had said something to one of the youngsters. And then as a result of that, I had gunshots into my car twice. It was 2 incidents. 2 times they shot my car up. Now, I don't know if there've been any other incidents with gunfires, but this happened to me. I called John and he gave me the contact of the sheriff's department, and they came out and investigated both times. But I'm very disturbed by this whole incident with Wayfinders. Luckily they just shot up my car. They didn't shoot at my house or shoot at me. But this is to the point where, it's dangerous. And I just like to say that I want to get involved with any committee or anyone at all that is willing to meet with the Wayfinders and to share with them, my incident and other incidents to ensure that this does not happen again.
No, it is dangerous. That's right. While they're letting people just roam, if they can't control their own internal organization, keep their employees safe, how are we going to keep ourselves safe?
Right. And Brother Nicholas, we certainly appreciate you and your years of service to the community. Obviously, you're welcome to connect with Tracy and the committee that's focused on this, and we welcome your Ms. Maxwell and anybody else's involvement and participation. That's really whether it's Wayfinder or any other issue affecting safety in the neighborhood, it requires all of us to pay attention, to get involved, to be willing to pick up the phone. All you guys, I'm sure, know 310-482-6000 by heart. That's the number to Marina Sheriff Station. You should call. Whenever you see something suspicious. I don't care what people say about, issues with law enforcement not being professional. So far, the times that I have reached out to that station and gotten them involved, I've witnessed nothing but professional law enforcement activity by those folks. And that's why we appreciate having that station there and the folks that run it. And unless somebody else had something to say, Tony, were you done?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next. And Michael, I'm aware that some people's mics, so I'm trying to mute. I'm trying not to mute everybody, but I may have to. But we'll see how that goes. I'm going to switch right now since we're talking about public safety. Let's just ask Captain Doug Young from West LA CHP and Sergeant Mark Collins from Marina Sheriff Station to weigh in. I know we had some concerns. A lot of people have been concerned about the donut activity, the street takeover and intersections and laying down rubber. It seems like every weekend or every few days we're hearing in the distance some young people, maybe not so young, regardless, they're old enough to know better, taking over intersections and burning rubber and just doing all kind of crazy stuff. And I believe we're told that there was a task force between CHP, sheriffs, and LAPD, and they've been trying to put some resources on that. So we'd love to hear more about that. And Sergeant Collins, I think he's driving, but let's see if we can track down Captain Young. There you are. How you doing, sir? You're unmuted. Go ahead.
I'm well, John. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year, everyone. I can tell you that the CHP is very familiar with the problem up in the Ladera, View Park, and Baltimore Hills area with regard to the street racing issue. And I've been having conversations with Captain Johnson over the last several months, and I'll let Sergeant Collins kind of talk to his agency's response to it. But we have gotten together, and the Highway Patrol does have a street racing task force, and we've actually deployed it with the assistance of the Sheriff's Department. The most recent incident was on November 15th, and I recognize that is a little bit a while ago. We also had planned another task force in your area on Christmas Day. Unfortunately, we had to send those resources to another location. But in respect to that November 15th issue, the way we worked it is that the Sheriff's Department kind of came in early. They kind of pushed the people out of the area, the racers. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because we recognize if we start taking enforcement right there in the neighborhoods, we really increase the danger to the neighboring residents, because we have all these car chases and all these people racing around, and we just don't want to put the public in jeopardy. So the Sheriff's Department kind of pushed them out of the area. We got them into an area where we felt like we could take enforcement. And just to give you some numbers, this is what we ended up with. We ended up with 71 citations, 38 vehicles being stored or impounded, and 39 arrests. And that's something that we could continue to do, and we will continue to do it. That's now with this task force, that is a Los Angeles County-wide resource. So I have to share that with the other CHP offices around the area. However, when I don't have access to that task force, we staff the area. We go up into the areas of your community and address traffic problems and other quality of life issues. What I want you to know is that we're dealing with the issue, but what I had my sergeant, who's in charge of street racing, kind of run do some research on the numbers of calls that we received from the community regarding street racing. And it was very, very few by comparison to street racing in other locations. To be able to pull the task force to your location, it's based on times and incidents. And if I could have you guys contact me, and John, I left you the website that you could contact us at, the email address.
Sure, we'll post that in the chat while you're talking, Cap.
Perfect. And then, like I said, if we could just have you guys call us for whatever your needs are, but if you could provide times and locations, and I understand that the 5 Points and Angeles Vista and all those locations are the main intersections there off of Slauson are going to be the big problems, and Sunday afternoons seems to be the primary times and dates. We'll continue to send resources to those locations to ensure that we address the problem.
Cap, what do you want us to do in real time if we witness something like that going on? What should folks do?
So if you need immediate law enforcement assistance, for example, something big happened, you need someone there right away, call 911, and the dispatcher will send the appropriate unit to that location, whether it be sheriffs, the police department, the highway patrol, emergency medical services, what have you. But if it's something that is just like, hey, I have an ongoing problem, I want you to call our dispatch center or our station. And John, if I will, I'll before I leave today, I'll make sure I text those numbers to you, or I'll leave those in the chat as well, so that they can contact us, and then we will continue to track the problems and we'll continue to address the issues as necessary.
That's great. And what was that I was just looking for and I could not find the that email address? What was the email address that you want people to send to if there's some CHP issue that's not an urgent thing?
Sure, it's CHP West LA at chp.ca.gov.
Got it. All right. And that's for, tell me again what you want people to send you email about there.
That's just a general email that we can answer any questions. We could set up services, facilitate any kind of services for you, whether it be an educational service. You have a question about, you need a new parent wanting to install a car seat in their car, and we offer those types of services. We do school events, or we could address enforcement related matters.
Right, and that's, go ahead. Sorry, Cap. I was just going to say, if we know, because we do know of some specific locations, and we've talked about this before, where it would be good to set up enforcement activity, we can email you that to that address, and it'll get to the right person.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
And I just let you know that this is such a very difficult problem because, as you know, you call us, we start responding some units. I know the sheriffs have been sending units there on every weekend. We kind of chase them out of the area, and it's like trying to, it's like dividing water. As soon as you get there, they go away, and then the problem comes back as soon as we leave, and that's the frustrating thing.
Yep.
Hey, John, somebody put in a question about the stats that he shared, if he could share those stats in the chat, or at least, if he can't do that, where folks can find those stats.
I could definitely share those stats.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and Cap, obviously you can send those to us via email, and we'll post them on our website and get them out to the community at large.
Okay.
Hey, John, could you ask Captain Young to repeat the email address, and then I will post it in chat.
Yep, I just did, but feel free to do it later. Or again, it's chpwestla@chp.ca.gov. All right. Captain Young, anything else? I don't want to put you on the spot, but this whole question of trying to figure out the best way to slow people down in our, on our residential streets continues to be a persistent challenge. And over here, I know in Ladera, they had more success at installing speed humps. And there's one street that, sounds like on Corning that may or may not be that effective. But over here, we just have speed humps over on Palmero, I think, close to Stocker. And then on the back half of Northridge, as you go toward, I shouldn't say back half, the western half of Northridge as you go toward La Brea. But otherwise, there are no speed humps over here. And there are certainly some streets where, people are ripping and running, 50, 60 miles an hour, just ridiculous speeds for a residential area. Do you have a professional? I know, none of us are traffic engineers, but do you have an opinion or recommendation as far as what, the best and most effective combination of measures that a community can take to try to slow people down?
Like you said, John, that is more of a question for the traffic engineers. And every time that you bring something like that to my attention, I always forward that information to the Los Angeles County traffic engineers for their consideration. I know that Corning was one of the streets specifically that they requested, especially Upper Corning, anything north of Slauson. And I'll let Los Angeles County answer to that, but they did not want to address that particular issue with a speed hump, that particular engineering solution. But like I said, one of the things that we did do, I asked the engineers to come out and address the traffic timing, the signal timing on Slauson. And they did do that, and that did alleviate traffic to a very small amount. It was the thing is that what they do is just incremental. It makes very incremental changes as opposed to something that you see, would make a drastic change. And so they're always having to, it's like a chess, game. If they change a signal here, it's going to affect traffic in another location. And so they're always addressing these issues.
So we really need kind of a combination of maybe some of those measures, some engineering measures combined with some specific law enforcement, and maybe that'll do the trick. I appreciate.
John, there was a question about also traffic cameras.
Was that was in the chat?
Yes.
Okay. We'll circle back on that. I know, I don't know about unincorporated LA County, but the city of LA pretty much outlawed traffic cameras. And if you don't have, a signal light, traffic cameras aren't really going to help you. I'm going to unmute or ask Sergeant Collins from LA Marina Sheriff Stations to unmute. Sarge, how you doing?
Pretty well, thank you.
Good. Thanks for being here. Any particular, I know we talked about Wayfinder and, people in general are concerned about what seems to be a fairly significant increase in property crimes. Anything you want to share with the community or weigh in on?
No, I heard the discussion earlier, and you were right on point in terms of describing how we got there with Wayfinders. And I've heard some of the issues, and I was on a meeting with the supervisor the previous week. And so a lot of the issues are things that are beyond our control, so to speak. And then I know one of the main issues that we had talked about with the supervisor, I couldn't unmute myself that day, but the issue is that it had come up in terms of security. So just so the community knows, Wayfinders does not want security there because it's not a locked facility. And then the moment you lock those doors or provide security, it changes the status of that facility. And then there are certain legal things that they have to do. So one of the things that would have to be from the community perspective would be to ask, like you say, figure out what type of children / kids / young adults are placed there. Now, just so the community understands the way that part of the way that facility works, and you hit upon it, the main thing was revenue. And so when it boils down, is that when DCFS needs to place a child, and when they look around the county, if Wayfinders has space, whether that facility is designed to accommodate that child or that youth, it doesn't matter. As long as it's a bed space, they will place them there. And Wayfinders has no say in accepting that child. So that's something that didn't get mentioned last week or the week before, but that's something that you guys do need to know. So it's a problem for them in terms of not being able to, and then maybe the second in command, the DCFS director that you had mentioned, that's something, because when we spoke, a lot of things she didn't know. And so there's a disconnect between what Wayfinders reports versus what they want to report to the community and to DCFS. So a lot of things they try to handle in-house, but they aren't equipped to handle it in-house. And as far as their security, they're just there for the parking lot to let cars in and out. So they do not enter the facility to go hands-on with any fights, any vandalism, any disturbances, any breaking windows. They're just there strictly for that, and then they allow their staff to handle that. So
now, Sarge, sorry to cut you off, but I was told by the COO, Mr. Allen at Wayfinder, that subsequent to the young man's murder, they hired additional security and they were working on getting some sort of quick response together. But since that time, there have been some other serious incidents as well, right? Since the killing?
I'm not aware of too many other than the children that do walk away from the facility, which in turn becomes reported as missing, right? And just for reference, just so the community knows, 2020, we had 860 calls for service at Wayfinders.
How many?
It was over 840.
800 calls to that one facility in 1 year's time.
Yes. And then I was when I don't have the numbers because I'm driving, but the year before it was like a 37% increase. It was like high 600s, like 680 in 2019. So there are a lot of issues with that particular facility. But and anyway, so like I said, a lot of these issues need to be discussed, with the committees and and having the information to at least ask the right questions and not to be allowed to be swayed where the conversation goes. There are some answers that they need to provide to the community members. And you and I have talked, and I can share some more with you later. That was my input from Wayfinders. And as far as the quick response team, that's just if something happens, then they will call them too. But as far as I haven't spoken with Mr. Allen since then, but I know in the times that I've been there, the security and they don't the community, the county, the state, no one wants armed security on that facility. And the security that I've seen are the ones at in the parking lot. I have not seen security on campus. So maybe since that week, maybe things have changed, but I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Allen because he's had his own issues to deal with. So we haven't reached out. As far as the takeovers, speed racers, generally in our area, for the most part, it's the takeovers. We don't get too many speed racers. And so what the Marina Station's been doing since, this has been an ongoing problem since, off and on since July, but in October, that's when we committed to hire 2 additional deputies to try to manage that. So initially they started out on Overhill and Slauson. And then once deputies were posted there during that time, it's usually when it got dark, so like between 6:30 and 7, then they moved up to 5 points, and that's generally around 8:30 or so. And then so this past week, last Sunday, I guess they got hip to that, and then they came out at 11 o'clock. Now, as far as we're concerned, the overtime that we pay, generally the guys are out there from, they might go from 5 to 10 or 6 to 11. It's usually 5 to 10 because we want them out there before it gets dark to drive around, to have a presence. But with 2 deputies, it makes it real hard. So we've been, like I said, we've been paying for this since October, and then there were 2 Sundays where we couldn't because there was an incident going on in the community, and the deputies got pulled to help out with a pursuit and a juvie arrest, so we couldn't deal with that. And then the one Sunday, because we went 5 weeks in a row with no problems, and then 2 out of the last 3 Sundays we've had problems there, and it's a matter of them moving the time. So it's kind of like a moving target. We can't, because if we get to a point soon, guys aren't going to come in to work 10 to 2 or 10 to 3 in the morning. Guys aren't going to do that. So it's a moving target, and so so it's a moving target. And then so like I said, we've done it, and then we generally have been paying for this because the county, the division doesn't give us money for the street racers. This is money that Captain Johnson's just kind of taken out of a pool and just has used to address the issue, right? And then he's been in constant contact with Captain Young and whatever discussions they've had. But and then some Sundays I've been out there, and then even when I go, once they've taken over, like Captain Young was saying, there's not too much we can do. I mean, we took enforcement action that November 15th where we arrested someone and impounded a car, but that was just the spectator and not necessarily the people doing donuts. So the people causing all the havoc are the ones that get away, because when we get up there, then everybody runs to their cars. And unless everyone's coming from the same direction, it makes it hard, because if I'm on one side and somebody's on the other side, you can't compete with 200 street racers with 3 or 4 deputies. And so that's kind of the issue we have. So we come with lights and siren to just move them out. But like Captain Young said, in terms of taking enforcement action, it would take like a whole task force, and then you just block the people in and not let them go. But with the 2 deputies, we have 3 deputies, 1 2-man unit and 1 single-man car. And then maybe the area units if nothing's going on. But committed for right now, has committed for the next couple of months to 2 units committed to the street racing.
So if I'm hearing you right, SARS, this sounds like this is boiling down to a question of resources and manpower, basically, right?
Yeah, it's always been an issue of resources for us, because normally, just so you guys know, normally we only have maybe 2-3 units on a Sunday on the east end of town. And then for us, a lot of our we're not like a contract city where we get money. We're one of 2 stations that are county only, so we don't generate revenue. So we get whatever whatever division gives us. So if they don't give us the money, there's not much we can do. And then most of the guys, if we're going to do it, it has to be overtime, because we only have 2 units on Sunday nights, and then we hire 2 and on that east end. And it's not too much you can do with 2 units, and then other cars have to handle calls. If they're available to assist, then they can assist. But dedicated resources, it's only two units right now, and that's all we can afford.
Got it. And Captain Young, while we have you here too, which is great, what's your perspective on this from a resourcing standpoint? I know there's a task force, but what, in terms of physical bodies and vehicles, what can you allocate to this?
We put 1 to 2 units up in your location every single day, just because we recognize the importance of keeping that area safe, and we have the call volume to justify it. And so while most of our units seem to, get deployed to the freeway type beats, we do definitely staff your location.
So on a daily basis, you have 1 to 2 units over here.
Yes.
Could you use more if we could figure out a way to resource that?
Of course, the more the better, of course.
Okay.
We will, like I said, we are always working to provide as much as we can to your community.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. I want to say to both of you gentlemen, and you can take this back to your colleagues. We appreciate, on behalf of the community, let me say, we appreciate everything that you and your agencies do to keep us safe and keep our streets safe. We want to be as supportive as we can, because we know you guys are out here being professionals and trying to provide law enforcement with limited resources. And, obviously we all believe in, professional law enforcement and accountability and transparency. That goes without saying, but we don't have any concerns. And Sarge, maybe you can speak to this, because I wanted to talk about, this whole question of, well, we see something suspicious, but we're hesitant to call the sheriff because something bad may happen. I don't think that way, but maybe you guys can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd send it to, I'll put the number in there. I mean, and you had already sent it out. I mean, we're here to serve. So if there's anything you see, by all means, call it in. And one of the things also, I've noticed a lot of the community members call the Ladera Center, and the Ladera Center is not the place to call. I don't know how that number gets out when you have if it's an issue going on now. Of course, you call the station, right? Because weekends and late into the evening, I'm not there. So,
and that's the 310-482-6000 number that you're saying we should call.
That's the number you should call.
Right.
And if there's any issues, then they can pass it on to me if it's an ongoing issue. But if it's a call where services are needed now, one of the things that at the Sheriff's Department, we respond to all calls, no matter what time they come in. So, and then just understand. So, just like Captain Young, I mean, we have different priorities of calls. So if you call and it's something going on, it's important to you, but we have we have so many minutes we have to get with. We have 3 different calls stages: an emergent call, lights and siren. We have to get there in under 7 minutes. If it's a priority, we have 20 minutes, and if it's a routine call, so if somebody's sitting out in front of your house, they've been smoking marijuana, we'll send a car, but it's not going to be in the time. It's not going to be in 5 minutes. If the unit is there, nothing's going on, they will, but they have up to an hour to get a call. But saying all that to say is that if there's anything you see, feel free to call. And then, but if you call and you think something's going to happen, I mean, there's only so much we can do. I mean, with these children at Wayfinders, I mean, we have our hands tied because the East Lake is and the county and everyone has kind of tied our hands in terms of what probation will take.
And East Lake is the juvenile facility, right?
That's yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And so a lot of times these issues they'll get detained. So juvies are detained and not arrested, and then they'll wind up if we do take them to the juvenile probation, then they'll get cited out to DCFS. And a lot of these kids going back to Wayfinders, they know this. As a matter of fact, they'll even tell you, well, nothing's going to happen. I'm going to get cited out and I'll be right back. Because of the limited space, there's nowhere to place these children/youth. And that's what part of the problem is.
Yep. Anybody have any questions for Captain Young or Sergeant Collins before we let them go?
John, there was a question that came up in chat. Well, there were 2. One regarding Wayfinders, it would be the possibility of them obtaining some type of alarm system when someone leaves unauthorized. The other one is dealing with marijuana smoking and littering around the Monteith Park area in Olympia.
Okay, as far as the Monteith Park, I mean, their units, so really, so the parks, Ingold, Monteith, those are patrolled. They're within our district, but they're patrolled by the Parks Bureau. I'll have to give that to John. So if you see that, then you call them and they have dedicated units to that. You can also call our station, but Parks Bureau needs to understand, you know, what's going on. Because for a while, I think they had brought it to my attention, and for about 2 or 3 weeks, we patrolled that heavily, and then I think the activity had stopped. But if you
Yeah,
do see that, you do see that, you do call. But like I said, if it's for something like that, although it's important to the community, I mean, we'll get there as soon as we can, but it won't be, you know, if you're looking out your window and saying something and saying, where are they? It's not going to be a 5-6 minute. They're not going to be there in 5 or 6 minutes.
Monteith Park, as everybody knows, is kind of one of those hangout spots. In fact, that's right up the street from Brother Tony's house where he had the incident. And, you know, I tend to go out and have conversations when I see our young people doing stuff. I don't know if I would advise everybody to do that, but, you know, I think it's important for us to be present. This is our community. We shouldn't be afraid of our own young people, and we should be able to put them in check. And if they don't hear us, then maybe they'll understand when law enforcement comes. That's how I see it, but that's my personal perspective. Anything else?
You know, there was a couple of people who asked the same question about, and I don't know if this was addressed or not. Is there anything you can do with regard to these people doing the donuts and racing in terms of taking a picture of their license plates? Is there anything you can do after the fact? So a couple of people asked that question.
In other words, if they have some video or eyewitness testimony, is there a way to bring charges after the fact without law enforcement being there and physically taking them into custody or whatever? Cap, you want to weigh in on that?
As a citizen, you have the right to do a citizen's arrest and cite these people if you could positively identify them. But the best way I would say to handle something like this is to stay away from the area. Well, not stay away from the area, take pictures, but at a safe distance, because we don't want you to get wrapped up into you know, some of this foolishness and potentially getting yourself hurt. And for that information to us, we always vet out any leads that we receive from the public. And unfortunately, with COVID and this pandemic, this was a rough year. I think kids are trying to let off some steam, just doing silly stuff. We've had so many. It seemed like our pursuits doubled this year. And like I said, we're always doing our best to balance the public safety and trying to enforce. So, for example, just 2 days ago, we had 2 pursuits that both were well over 100, 130, 140 miles an hour. And we just finally said, hey, someone's going to get killed. If it's not the person that's driving, it's going to be someone in the public, or it's going to be one of us. We'll get that person the next time. So my advice to you is just, again, if you could provide a license plate, a vehicle description, times and locations, that's wonderful. That's all we need.
Got it. Thanks. Anything else for these 2 fine gentlemen, folks, before we let them go? I see it looks like Miss Golden has her hand up. You want to unmute yourself, Miss Golden? Go ahead.
Yeah. Usually when we hear all this screeching, it's hard unless you're right there and it's by your house. You don't know where it's coming from. So how do we figure out where it's coming from?
For us, just tell us where you're calling from, and we'll just kind of have we'll know the general location where the incidents are occurring.
Okay. And then the other thing is, I have a solution. Since we're all on lockdown with COVID, there's the Ontario Speedway, there's probably some others. We need to form a group for these kids and let them go to one of these places and safely learn how to drive like maniacs around a legitimate racetrack. I mean, it's sitting there, nobody's doing anything. They don't have anything to do. So let's organize them.
Yeah, and that, Dolores, that is, you know, Captain Young hit the nail on the head talking about how people are going extra nuts in the wake of COVID. You know, just think about it. We didn't have enough parks and rec and activities and safe ways for outlets before this happened. Now we have even less. So, you know, this really again, what we talked about with Dr. Butler at the top, this has exposed all the weaknesses in our society. So it's up to us as a society to figure out how to come together and address it as best we can. And obviously it can't be always about, you know, slamming the hammer down and putting law enforcement on people, although there are some people that need that too. So good point. Anything else? All right. Hey, Captain Young and Sergeant Collins, we appreciate you guys very much. Obviously, feel free to stick around, but I know you guys are... Oh, go ahead, Charles.
I got actually two comments or so.
Quickly, go ahead.
We have speed bumps on Northridge, but now we're getting a lot of speeding traffic on Maryland now, where they're not going on Northridge, they're coming through our street. And they're doing it very fast.
So they're going, and that's in after the speed humps have been installed, they're trying to go around them. Okay.
Right. And they're coming down Maryland very fast. I mean, 50, 60 miles an hour every day.
Right.
It's very dangerous. We have children on this street. So, I mean, we need to do something that now they're altering their path through the neighborhood.
And that's why I think, Captain Young, that's what you were saying, is that when you fix it in one area, it moves to another area. So
right. And then the second thing is, I think it's very dangerous.
Hold on 1 second, Charles. Go ahead, Cap.
Mr. Covington, if you could just hit me up on the email, that email address that I left in the link.
Right, I was going to do that, but I just wanted to put it out there right now. So.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Charles.
And the second thing is, I've been stuck in one of these takeovers, and I think it's very dangerous. I understand what you're saying; they're letting off steam, but I have a older person that I have to get home to take care of, and I get stuck in this. On 20 minutes, I can't get to the house. I think it's very dangerous. I don't agree with that. I don't. It's tying up an intersection where any emergency vehicle can't get through, and it won't break up in a minute. That's like I've been in. I'll send you the video. I've been stuck in it, and you can't get anywhere for at least a good 10 minutes.
When you say you don't agree with it, what are you not agreeing with, Charles?
I'm not agreeing that that's not a major problem. This is a major problem.
Who said that it wasn't?
I think Mr. Captain Young said it wasn't really, a significant issue, and I disagree with that. It's a major problem in public safety. It's very disrespectful for our neighborhood that these people come in here and do that, and on a constant basis, and think they can just run away and go to another neighborhood and do it. I mean, okay. I really think that that's something that needs to be cracked down. Impound the cars and take licenses. That is ridiculous.
I got your point, Cap. You want to respond?
If I in any way gave the impression that this is not a significant safety issue, that is I misspoke or miscommunicated. It is a major safety issue. It puts everyone in danger, and we continue to address this matter at the highest level, and that's why we have a task force. We received money from the federal government and the state Office of Traffic Safety to address this matter specifically. And so we are addressing it at the highest level with the largest amount of resources. So like I said, if I gave you the impression that we are not taking it seriously, my apologies.
Yeah, thanks. And also, Charles, I think the thing that I heard was it's a question of having adequate resources, both from Marina Sheriff's and CHP West LA. If they only have a few cars, if they roll up, that's the challenge.
And trying to figure out who to call. And I mean, I called the sheriff, and they say it's a CHP issue.
Well, now that's a
little frustrating when you get there and you're like, well, I need somebody to come here now and break this up because I got to get home.
I got it. That's a good point, Charles. And let me ask Captain Young, the number to your station, is it 310-642-3939? Is that the number you want folks to call if they need CHP?
That's the number to call Monday through Friday, business hours. And the email that I also gave you is something that our guys monitor 24/7. You may or may not get a response on the weekends or late at night because generally my cops team works during Monday through Friday hours. But if you call our dispatch center with an ongoing problem or you need immediate law enforcement assistance, you have two numbers, one to our dispatch center, which I left you, John, and also the 911 if you need someone immediately. And I'll tell you that if our street racers have taken over an entire intersection and blocked blocked the intersection in all directions, or they do this on the freeway as well, they just actually block the entire freeway and start doing their craziness on the freeway, that's a 911 call.
Okay, because that's what I was going to say. Are you giving out any tickets or citations in these areas?
Yes. So I don't have any specific I don't have any specific numbers for recently, but like I said, that one detail that we ran on November 15th was fairly productive.
And Cap, let me make sure you said the dispatch number, is that different than the 642-3939?
That's this number right here. If you can see that.
I can't, my eyes aren't that good anymore. Read it for me.
What number is that?
323 259 3200.
259-3200, that's CHP dispatch?
Yes.
Okay, we'll put that in the chat as well.
Okay.
All right.
Also,
And that was area code 323?
Yeah, 323-259-3200. And I got it. I just put it in there. Was that someone else that I just heard trying to say something before we wrap up on this point?
Yeah, John, this is Al Tate. Listen, I wanted to find out there, Sergeant Young, or Sheriff Collins there, who's in charge of citing some of the vehicles there that modified their exhaust system there? You can hear them halfway down the street there. You know,
Okay. Mr. Tate, your audio is sounds like you're talking through a tin can, but I think you were asking about who's in charge for citing vehicles that have extra loud emissions, something like that?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's true.
Okay. Sarge or Captain Young, you guys have any thoughts on that? It sounds like more of a public nuisance.
Well, we can handle that. That's part of some of the things that we enforce.
Okay, so Mr. Tate, you can reach the CHP at that number or email that we put in the chat. All right?
All right, thank you.
All right.
Hey, John, this is Carolyn. I know you want to move off this issue, but one quick suggestion. I don't know if this is CHP or sheriff, but they used to park a vehicle at Monteith Park that I think served as also kind of a deterrent for the speeding and then also the things that occur at the park. So maybe that's one thing, if the resources are there, that either the sheriff or CHP can think about doing again.
Mm-hmm.
This is Sergeant Collins. So one of the things we, for the short term, that's something that's not an option right now because of what's when across the country when they started destroying cars, the captain didn't want any decoy cars or any cars just parked there because of all the vandalism that had been taking place around May. Because as you guys know, they vandalized the Ladera Center, and then at that point, so we don't even keep the cars parked at the Ladera Center anymore because we want to keep them under our watch. But I sent the number out to Parks Bureau for you guys, the 974-8000 number. If you see anything, you can call them and you can call us. We'll still respond, but in order for them to get on the radar to understand, because if we handle the call, then they never know about the issue. So, but the Parks number is there, and that's what their deputies are dedicated to, just cruising the parks.
Got it.
And I will add to that, we don't typically leave a car like that out and without it being secured. So one of the things that we were getting ready to do before the pandemic started was we were going to utilize our senior volunteers to just drive around school zones during pickup and drop off times, to drive around those locations where we recognize that we have ongoing issues, again, our senior volunteers do not do anything other than just kind of show the black and white, and drive around the area, make people recognize that we're there in the area. And if there's anyone that's interested in becoming a senior volunteer, the more people from the community that get involved, the better.
That's good to know, Cap. Sarge, does the Sheriff's Department offer anything like that? I think I remember hearing about like community policing or some adjunct to the sheriffs. What's up with that?
No, we have volunteers on patrol. Some volunteers man the Ladera Center, and some cruise and drive about the community. I'll give them assignments, or they just look for issues. But very rarely, because I think we have like 3 or 4, and they're a little older, and they're not. They don't make themselves available at night, and so since they're volunteering, we can't necessarily make them do anything. So most of them volunteer once a week, and like the like 9 to about 3 hours, 9 to 3, 9 to 5, and that's about the limit for them. Other than that, they don't really patrol the night hours. But that's one of the things I will have them do is just patrol the parks and then use their radios if they see something to call units. But like I said, it'll just be during, because right now we only have 3 volunteers on patrol because of because everyone's older. A lot of them have stayed away until, you know, they get this pandemic underway.
Yep. You know,
I have a quick question, if I may.
Go ahead, Michael.
As the school zone made me think of it, I think I'm the only one who stops behind school buses. You know, I see the red lights, and honestly, I'm thinking $2,000 or $3,000 fine if I pass it. But I seem like I'm the only one. I'm just wondering what can be done to protect our students, our own children that you know, are getting off and on buses where cars are not stopping. And what can we do as individuals to assist you all when there's no one around to see the people speeding around the buses?
One of the things I would suggest is I'll also give you LA School Police, because if it's the school zones around there, it's really, you know, they had excuse me, they had their reductions. So, but nevertheless, it doesn't stop them from having a responsibility. So as far as that, if guys see it, they can do it. But it's just like with so many schools, and you know, it's not like the units are going to follow the school bus to see who stops or who doesn't. You know, if they see it, then they can cite it. But outside of that, I hear what you're saying, and I know it's a problem because when I was on patrol, I always made a point to cite people who didn't stop for the red lights on the school bus. But it's a tough one. I mean, if we see it, because you have to, our station resources, I mean, we have 2, some days we'll have 3 units on the east end, and other times it's just 2. I mean, it's only with 2 cars, and with the wayfinders calls, there's not much we can do other than if they see it.
And just a real quick point, I'm seeing some comments in the chat, and Charles made a point earlier about overlapping jurisdictions. You know, a lot of the challenge here, being in unincorporated LA County, so close to the city of LA on one side, Culver City going west, Inglewood going south, you know, there is a question, it's a legitimate thing of, hey, who do I call at Overhill, Stalker, and La Brea? Who's responsible for coming out and handling if the lights go out, directing traffic? That's a major issue. So unfortunately, I don't know of any easy solution. I'm going to post something that we have circulated in the past, and we'll probably do a mass mailer to get this out. But we put together a kind of a comprehensive list of phone numbers and resources, and we just updated it since we had some changes. But you really do almost have to become an expert in local government to figure out who to call. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And we all know that the squeaky wheel is the only one that's going to get the attention. So, you know, we can either complain about it, or we can get busy if we know who to call, calling and hitting that person up until they do something. And it sounds to me like both on the CHP and the sheriff's side, there's some people somewhere who control some budgetary items that need to hear from us about some additional resources that we need to handle these issues, because, you know, these guys can only work with what their superiors give them in terms of resources. So this is the situation we're in, folks. We're a very capable organization, but we have to get busy and let our voices be heard, and we can't have a problem with that. It is what it is. Let me find that document and stop running my mouth. Anything else?
Hey, John, can I give you the LA School Police dispatch number?
Sure, go ahead.
213-625-6631. One more time, 213-625-6631. And that's the school police dispatch that goes directly there, just like they're law enforcement, just like us. They're 24/7. So the gentleman who was speaking of that, if it's a continual problem, then just let them know and make them aware of it. Because if you know, if people don't call, they don't know.
And that would be only if you had an issue specifically dealing with school LAUSD stuff, right?
Well, that I'm just talking in terms of the school, the cars, because wherever the kids are, they have a link, they have a nexus to that. So if there's a particular area where you always see that the people don't stop for the school bus, and that's something that they can cite for. Right. In addition to us and CHP, but like I say, if that's their main thing, then putting it on their radar, so at least they're aware of it, then they can address it. And then if you continue to see it, then you have other recourse to say, hey, well, we've called and what's being done. And that's how you hold them accountable. Because like I say, they got So now the guys have, I think they went from like 1 to 20 schools to like 1 to 30 schools, but that's nevertheless, it's still their job. So it doesn't matter, but that's the number. So at least you, like you said, in terms of resources, at least you have a number to another resource number instead of, I mean, we'll help, but like I said, in terms of us solving the problem, we're there to assist, but we can't, with our two, maybe 3 units, we can't be at all these different locations at one time.
Got it. And
Hey, John,
go ahead.
I'll just add this, that to piggyback on what Sergeant Collins says, hey, if my job is to help you and this community any way I can. If it's not my jurisdiction, I'm going to find out whose jurisdiction it is and make sure that that person is where. I'll work with my own agency, or I'll work collaboratively with other agencies. But put it on us, and we'll figure it out. We'll get you the assistance you need. We'll facilitate meetings, or we'll address things with whatever government or elected officials that we need to. And like I said, just put it on us and let us be your problem solvers.
Great. Much appreciated, gentlemen. Thank you both. All right. Let me take a couple of quick minutes here. We're running behind, but obviously we were covering some important topics. I want to talk for a couple of minutes about our favorite would-be development project, better known as The View, the 88-unit condo project at Overhill and Stalker. Most of you know we had a successful lawsuit that forced the developer in the county to do an environmental impact report. They are trying to limit the scope of that environmental impact report to traffic matters only. If you want to really hear chapter and verse the case for why that needs to be a much broader analysis, because that project will have some serious environmental impacts, you can go to www.uhawhvp.org, our website. We posted the letter and all the exhibits that we sent over to the county as part of our comment there. I think the only thing that I want to say is that it would appear, I'm going to see if I can share my screen real fast and just highlight a couple of quick points on that. It would appear that, as we suspected, see if I can talk and think at the same time. Let's do this. That project got entitled because of a political deal between the former supervisor and the developer. There was no objective analysis of the real environmental impact. There was obviously no disclosure or notification to the community when the decision was made to include the rezoning and the changing of the land use designation for that site in the 2035 general plan. They just did it. And that's completely unacceptable and I would argue illegal. And we continue to work on trying to dig up as many details as we can on that, because we think it's important for not only for our community, but for others in the area to understand how bad decisions and bad policy gets made. This is a letter that we submitted. I'm not going to, take time in the meeting to read it. Obviously, you can find it and read it yourself. But I just wanted to point out a couple of key points here. This is what I just said to add insult to injury. I hope you guys can all see this. Exhibit E demonstrates how the developer relied on getting the zone change and plan amendment adopted in the general plan update, which of course we know they knew. The county and the developer conspired to conceal the impact of these decisions from the community, because everybody over here thought that this issue was resolved because the former Supervisor Burt, downzoned everything in response to all those crazy development proposals that kept coming about building housing all on Stalker, et cetera. So, there's a question about how the Department of Regional Planning is notifying people of these actions and of these hearings, because nobody was notified. They notified the owner of the property, which of course is the developer, that they were going to do that. Nobody next door even got notified of that. So we just wanted to highlight all of these different points about, building right next to an active earthquake fault, across from an active oil field, within a very high fire hazard severity zone, which are all, violations of the county's own general plan and policy. and point out that, you know, as I say, where is it here? Da, 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 da. I'm skipping over it. If I was smart, I would have highlighted this. Here it is. Contrary to comments made by a certain supervisor in 2018, we're not anti-development, but we're requiring developers to adhere to community standards and follow the law. I mean, this is not, shouldn't be a controversial topic, but for some reason, and we know what the reason is, this seems to be a problem. So all that being said, let me stop this share. I'm going to post in the chat the planner who's responsible for collecting comments and getting us prepared for this environmental impact report. I would encourage, you know, we're always looking for things to do and folks want to know what they can do to help. And obviously we need, you know, we need the support. We need folks to pay their dues. We need people to weigh in on Wayfinder and public safety and all that. But I would encourage you guys to just take a look at this email that I just posted in chat. Get this person, Linda Hikichi's email address, and just send her a note. We all hopefully weighed in and submitted our comments, you know, encouraging them to make as broad an impact or as broad an assessment of the environmental impact of this project as possible beyond just traffic. But they really do need to hear from us, and our new supervisor needs to understand how critical this issue is as well. We're not anti-development. We just don't like it when people break the law and do stuff behind our back and then expect us to be okay with it. We're not okay with that. That's the message.
Okay, so how do we get a copy, or can you maybe send something out, you know, to maybe the people that are here today to
Ms. Maxwell, I appreciate your comments, and I'm very glad that you asked that question, but I got to ask you to raise your hand because, yeah, otherwise everybody's going to want to do that.
Okay, I'll have to
but
work on that. Okay.
No, that's okay. But to answer your question, all of this information is actually posted on our website. If you go to UHA-WHVP.org, there's a link not only to the letter that I just posted, but there's a link to basically a whole repository of documents so you can see the history of how this project got approved and what our response has been, the litigation that we had to file. The other point I want to make, and I appreciate my fellow board members reminding me, we started raising money. We started the UHA Smart Development Fund a while ago, and I'm going to put that link. Daryl just beat me to it. Thanks, Daryl. So if you click on the link there that we just posted through Member Planet, you can make donations to help us, because unfortunately, the way this is going, I am probably 60-40 of the opinion that we're going to have to be involved in more litigation behind this, because, you know, the developer and the county are proceeding as if all they have to do is give us a better traffic study and that'll solve all the problems. We don't think so. We think they actually do need to look at in an objective manner, not in a process that's driven by and dictated by the developer and their attorney, but objectively, somebody that the county picks and the county can control. Look at the real environmental impacts of this. If you're going to do an EIR, that's a complicated and expensive process. You might as well do it right. So that's our contention, and we hope that you all will weigh in on that, not only with the county regional planning department staff person, but also take a minute, drop a little coin in the coffer, because we're going to need as much support as we can get. And also, while we're talking about land use issues, some folks have been posting on Nextdoor about the so-called car wash lot at Heatherdale and Slauson. I hate the fact that my last name is part of the name of that street, Heatherdale, but it is what it is. You know, at some point, it really would be nice to buy all of that property and just get control of, because we've had everything from car wash attempts to illegal liquor stores, cigarette store. I don't even know what that thing was a few years ago that popped up there. And in fact, at that particular lot, the county DA has filed some sort of litigation involving ownership of that lot. So there's some legal action outstanding. But, you know, on the other side, on the south side of Slauson, going by Mansfield, there's been some kind of used car lot and just, you know, just stuff that's an eyesore and stuff that we don't need in our community. And those commercial parcels would be much better served to be some sort of community serving retail, commercial, office space, something that benefits the community. So Tony, do you want to give a little more detail on some of the issues going on Slauson between Overhill and La Brea?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Regarding the old car wash, the district attorney's involved because of the non-compliance of the notice of violations by the owner for the last couple of years. So there's a process, Department of Regional Planning, zoning enforcement, there's a process. So after so many attempts and so many notices of violations, that case has been referred to the district attorney's office. So I recently contacted the regional planning enforcement officer regarding the clearing of the lot. I don't know if any of you have seen that they recently started clearing the lot and now it's fenced in. So I haven't heard back from her yet with that regarding that updated information, and we'll make sure to let you know what's the next step. As far as the lot that's just west of the structure, regional planning issued a final zoning enforcement order to the new property owner for the unapproved grading and a plant nursery, potted plants that are stored on the lot. So the owner has been told this many times, but he needs to submit a conditional use permit application. If he doesn't, after this last notice that was just issued to them, then the enforcement case will move forward to the next step. And that's the latest for those two parcels.
Thanks, Tony.
Sure.
And I just put, because Tony reminded me to, I just put another post in the chat with Linda Hikichi's email address. So again, if you all will just take a minute and shoot her a note so she doesn't forget about us and the fact that we're dead serious about not seeing something crazy get built somewhere where it could end up harming the residents that live there and the folks next door, the school kids across the street, etc. The last thing I'll mention about land use, and then of course, if anybody has any questions, we'll take them, is about Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall or Plaza. I guess it's just Baldwin Hills Crenshaw now. But as far as we know, there has been no official word on the status of the last offer to purchase the mall submitted by Mr. Abashera, the young man who had done some business with the Kushner folks in the past. We don't know officially whether his bid has been withdrawn or what the status of that is. And there may be some other detail coming on that shortly, but suffice to say that, I don't think there are very many fans of the now former president in this area. And maybe if there were, there may be fewer after what happened earlier this month at the Capitol, but be that as it may, whoever ends up buying that property, we will make sure that UHA and our community are in a position to work with that person and that group in a collaborative manner to make sure that whatever uses get built there and developed there and end up being put there are uses that serve and benefit our community, because that mall and that area is too critical in terms of the economics and just the physical location, being right next to the train station that's coming there at MLK and Crenshaw, and the future of this community to just be allowed to sit there and fester. In talking with some folks this week, I think people are concerned because we've had several failed attempts to purchase the property in the wake of community opposition. And you can say what you want about that. There's, arguments both ways in terms of the effectiveness and the viability of that, but it is what it is. But there is a real concern now that the mall deal itself is tainted, for lack of a better word. So that might make it even more challenging to get it, financed and acquired by a capable group that can actually do the things that we need to have done there. So I'm just saying all that to remind everybody that, number one, there is no one group that gets to speak for our community collectively. I'm talking about, the broader LA or South LA community and, on a micro level, Windsor Hills, View Park, View Heights, UHA has been formed and we make an effort to represent everybody as best we can. But obviously, and you guys know how we run our organization, this is a very open and democratic process and agency that we conduct here. And we're certainly not, trying to position ourselves as the authority or the spokesperson for the community, and nor will we allow anybody else to do that. We believe that it's important for everybody to be able to come to the table as stakeholders and folks that live in this community and have a say and have their input be heard and discussed. And quite frankly, I think we need to do more of that these days. There needs to be some more discussion, debate, whatever, without it becoming a personal, contentious back and forth where somebody wins and somebody loses. No, what we're trying to do is get to the best possible result for the community. So if that means we have to get together in a room and, hash it out and go at it, so be it. But at the end of the day, we come out with a solution that we know has been vetted and has input from everybody. So sorry for rambling, but that's my take on that. Any other questions or comments about land use before we move on to talk about these crazy state legislative bills? We're running about 10 or 15 minutes behind, but we're getting there. No questions about, oh, Ms. Golden, you got your hand up. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Go ahead.
My question is, does anybody know what's going on next to the Wiener Schnitzel on La Brea and Slauson? There's been construction there forever. Are they trying to build something or are they trying to fix something?
You're talking about in the shopping center next to Wiener Schnitzel itself or across the street?
It's right by the park, between the park and the Wiener Schnitzel.
So on that corner, kind of adjacent to the park?
Yeah, major construction forever.
Yeah, I don't know, and someone else may know. I see Daryl unmuted himself, but I think there was some public improvements, public work stuff going on at the park. Not sure what that was. I think I remember seeing right there at that corner, like a little billboard or something that may have a description or a project, some project information, but we can look into that, Ms. Golden. That shouldn't be too hard to figure out.
All righty, thank you.
Anything else? Don't forget, guys, to go to that link and support the UHA Smart Development Fund, because we need, we talk about all the time about land use issues and what we want to see, but as we all know, that requires capital. So we need to put our money where our mouths are and step up and do what we need to do to get this community where it needs to go. Let me quickly move on to SB 9 and SB 10, Senate Bill 9 and 10. Now here again, we've got our friends in Sacramento who think they know what's best for us, coming up with some new and improved, which are really just rehashing of SB 50 and SB 1120 and a bunch of other dumb ideas about doing away with single family zoning. I guess the idea that they're espousing is that somehow if you magically increase density and do away with single family zoned areas. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the whole thing about, the racist history of single family zoning. We all know that, but that's ancient history. I haven't seen any crosses burning in Windsor Hills or View Park in a few years. So, we're beyond that. But the thing that tickles me is this idea that somehow if you just figure out a way to make single family lots into duplexes or even quads, that's somehow magically going to cure our affordable housing crisis. And of course, the reality is that if you increase density, that's just going to make more market rate units, which is going to make everybody's, if you own property, great, your property values go up. But what about all our neighbors and folks that need affordable housing? That's our problem, right? So in order to deal with that, you have to target it, you have to fund it, you have to identify some specific financial resources that are dedicated to affordable housing that's going to serve all the different income levels that need it, from the working professionals at 120 and 80% of area median income, all the way down to the working poor at 40% AMI and below. The folks that are the homeless, that's a whole nother topic. But the bottom line is throwing money at problems actually does work. You know, when you want to solve something, you need to fund it. So that's, I'm happy to let you guys know that instead of just reacting to SB 9 and 10, which we'll write letters and, you know, do the same thing that we did before. And I'm going to post, in fact, let me do that now while I'm thinking about it. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen. Councilmember Paul Koretz has come up with some great resolutions at, well, that's not what I wanted to show. Some great resolutions at City Council that LA City Council, I should say, that oppose SB 9 and 10 and explain why those resolutions should be opposed. Let me see if I can find one of those real fast. So this is his resolution on SB 9. Hopefully everybody can see that. SB 9 is by Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins, and Councilmember Koretz is talking about how this would undermine the Subdivision Map Act. Basically, the way this bill is being presented is it's being espoused as something that's going to allow single-family property owners to build duplexes. Well, the reality is with accessible dwelling units, you can already split a single-family lot into two. So this would allow you to basically turn one single family lot into a fourplex, a 4-unit property if you're within a half mile of transit. So all our neighbors that live close to Crenshaw, for example, all of a sudden you would see some fourplexes pop up, which of course does nothing for affordable housing. And that's, you know, that's the point, right? So we took it upon ourselves to write public comment in support of Councilmember Koretz's resolutions. That's what you see on your screen. We wrote one for his resolution on SB 9 and one for his resolution on SB 10. I'm going to post something in the chat that gives you the link to do that. I'm going to encourage everybody who's listening to us right now, take a minute, even if you just send one line that says, hey, I live in Windsor Hills, or if you live in the city of LA and you're listening, even better. But we're close enough to the city where they'll listen to what we say, and there are only a handful of comments there. You know, there should be dozens of people commenting and telling Councilmember Koretz that he's on the right track and the city council needs to stand up and support this. But the other thing I wanted to share with you all, and I'm happy to say we have our neighbor from Sherman Oaks on, Maria Pavlu-Kalban. Maria, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your middle name correctly, but you can unmute yourself. Maria is part of a group of folks that we met during the struggle against SB 50 last year. And I'll spare you guys all the history, but you know, she and I are connected just by being involved in the real estate development business. I came across her husband a few years ago, but just another great person who is part of this battle to try to educate people in Sacramento and elsewhere that if you really want to do affordable housing, which we need and which we in single family communities are supportive of if done properly, you need to focus on that and bring people together instead of just trying to cram stuff down people's throats. So Maria and some other neighbors have formed something called United Neighbors, and that's up on the screen. And Maria, I'll let you say hi and take it from there.
Thank you, John. Have you ever thought of running for mayor?
I don't live in the city, Maria, so I can't do that.
Well, I need to make you move into the city. You're amazing. Thank you for inviting me. I am a homeowner. I joined and belong to the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. And in fighting these bills in the last couple of years, I realized that hardly anybody knows these are happening. And we're going to lose our ability to protect our single family neighborhoods because we're not tuning into the need to be heard. So I try to bring everybody together in the San Fernando Valley where I live, and we were able to get about 9 large homeowner groups, Encino, Studio City, Woodland Hills, to join me in an effort to keep everybody informed on what's going on, the deadlines, when we have to submit letters, when we have to talk to our assembly members and our senators, So I'm just trying to always focus everybody on the goal, which is trying to defeat these bills. So this year we began to increase our reach, and we've gotten 52 homeowner groups that are everywhere throughout the city. They include the San Fernando Valley, Santa Monica, the Mid-City, some of your members, which is great, Glendale, Torrance. It's just a whole lot of groups that are now coming together. And I'm trying to simply be a conduit for the information that's coming out of Sacramento to keep everybody active. We need to be active in order to defeat these bills. So John, I'm so appreciative of being here today. I can only encourage and hope that everybody joins our efforts, because we need to let our neighbors know what's going on. We are for development. There are lots and lots of areas to increase housing. And like John says, affordable has to be subsidized by the state and the federal government. The fact that they incentivize private developers by giving them density bonuses has not produced very much affordable housing, but it has certainly added density. So we're not anti, we're pro, but we certainly think it's fair as well to protect families that have bought into single family neighborhoods all over the city. And we're hoping that our reach, we can go even throughout the state and try to get enough people, enough grassroots support to let people know how upsetting all of these things are, and that there are better solutions than some of the stuff they've come up with. So I have gotten on several Zoom calls. It's very impressive, your group. I have attended several of your town hall meetings. You are a very active group. It is pretty impressive. It is not easy to get people activated because generally when I talk to people, they say it's not going to happen. You don't have to worry, but it's happening, and it's happening locally, because we're seeing an awful lot of support for the added density in our city council now. So John's comment about Koretz's resolution is important to address. We have to address it as a city to stop it here and not allow our city council to think we're all for more density everywhere. So I hope we can add more and more groups. I'm reaching out at all times to try and add to our coalition of neighborhoods, renters, homeowners, whoever we can add, just so we get some good, smart thinking going and some solutions. So,
outstanding. Thanks, Maria. We really appreciate that. And while Maria was talking, sorry, I was sharing the screen so you guys could see some of those documents, but we posted an email from Maria, which has the links if you want to go to the LA City Council website and add a comment, which we urge you to do. That first Maria email, United Neighbors, that has that link in there. Then I posted the one pager that describes the concepts that Maria was just talking about, United Neighbors, and then both of Councilmember Koretz's resolutions are there. And let me just say real fast, I want to give a shout out to our favorite Assembly member, our very own Sydney, and our neighbor, Assembly member Sydney Kamlager, who I don't know if she or someone from her staff is on the call, but if you are, we're behind you 1000%. We know that she is going to be running for the state Senate seat that was recently vacated by now Supervisor Holly Mitchell. So anything that we can do to be supportive of her. We sent her some flowers after that speech she gave on the floor of the Assembly last August that helped defeat or at least slow down SB 1120 so that they couldn't get that adopted, which would have been, another one of these ridiculous bills that we're now seeing again. She did such a great job representing for our community. We had to do something to let her know we appreciated that. And again, as Maria said, we all have to stand up, and it really is exciting to see so many people across the city lining up for just what's a basic common sense policy. We're not against development. We're not against affordable housing. We actually want to see that, but we want to see a real solution, not this stuff that these guys apparently have decided to back because they have some political or economic relationship with people that want to build more, market rate accessible dwelling units. I don't know what it is. I still haven't figured out who's behind all this, but we will eventually. Any other comments or questions? All right. Thanks, Maria.
Thank
We
you, John.
appreciate it. So we're at the end where normally 15 minutes ago we would have been opening up the floor for new business or announcements. Let me quickly ask if our neighbor Joanne Williams is still on. Maybe she can give us a quick update about LAX noise and other issues. Joanne, are you somewhere nearby? And I just can't see you. If you can, unmute yourself. I think she was going to call in. If you're dialing in, Joanne, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6. Okay.
I see her. I mean, I see her name.
Oh yeah, I see her too. Let me ask her to unmute. Technology, folks. While we're waiting for Joanne, one thing that we've been talking about is the frequency of our meetings, given that it's physically a little bit easier to do these virtually, even though we always enjoy getting together with everybody physically. We were discussing doing this monthly on the third Saturday of every month. So unless there's any objections, look for us to have another one of these on Saturday, February the 20th will be the next meeting. And then after that, it'll be Saturday, March 20th, 2 to 4 p.m. Joanne, looks like you unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say that I'll have a full report at our next meeting or whenever you say, John. I'm working on getting Jackie Hamilton, who is the point person for our Congresswoman. I want to say a lot is going on regarding the additional noise that's been caused in our area by that Metroplex plan.
Right.
Culver City had a lawsuit, but theirs was dropped, but they went in with the city of LA, and the city of LA still has a very active lawsuit going on now, and Culver City joined in with them. And it's all about a plan that Culver City has come up with, trying to get the FAA so that it would bring some noise relief in our area. So everything is happening. There's so much happening. So I want to make a full report the next time and invite Jackie Hamilton to also give us an update on what's going on with the Congress and the interactions with the FAA in Washington.
Great. All right.
So, but what I want to see is more people from UHA coming out, because, for example, when Culver City, they are very much on this, and they had more than a dozen people who came to, well, we can't go to the meetings now, but we do Zooms, but they had so many people coming out and they all got a chance to express what their issues were. And so that's what I would like to see more of from the UHA, more people coming out and talking and getting answers to your questions at our meetings. We meet every other month. We just had a meeting last week. So our next meeting will be in March. I think it's March 10th. So what I want to do is put my email address and my telephone number for anybody who wants to come to the meeting. I can make that happen. And I'm driving now. Otherwise, I would put it in the chat.
Well, Joanne, you can tell it to me and I'll type it. Go ahead.
Okay, Joanne, Joann
that part
S. Williams. You
that
got that part?
I got that part. Go ahead with the
Okay,
email
my
and the phone number.
The phone number is 323-295-8373.
Okay, and your email address?
Joanne S. Williams, Joann S like Sarah Williams at sbcglobal.net. And I really would love to get some more support, because we need to, like you were saying earlier, because I've been in the meeting the whole time. We need to speak up, and this is an issue where other groups are speaking up. And if we are unhappy, which I know some of us are, because I've spoken to some of you, we need to let our voices be heard.
Right. For sure. And
Okay,
we'll
so
do,
I promise a more extensive meeting about Metroplex and what's going on in Washington through Jackie Hamilton. She's the point person for our Congresswoman.
outstanding. And we'll do, thanks, Joanne. We appreciate that. And we'll do a better job too. You know, this is, if anybody who's listening has some expertise or ideas about more efficient ways to communicate and get information out, this is one of the things that's a challenge for us as a community organization is, you know, how do we get the information out to the people?
Exactly.
One other quick thing that I just realized that I think I forgot to post earlier that I wanted to make sure got out there. I'm sending everybody this thing that's just appeared in the chat. Should be an email from one of Supervisor Mitchell's staffers, and it includes some pretty good contact information and emails, but it also talks about the county vaccination information. So make sure you take a minute and take a look at that. Any other?
Is that going to be on the website?
Yeah, we can put that up on the website as well, and it's in the
okay.
Yeah, it's in the chat. Let me just, while we're talking, let me open this up. Let's see. Inglewood Forum is going to serve as a mass vaccination site. Vaccinations are available by appointment only for residents age 65 and older. VaccinateLACounty.com. We already talked about that to schedule an appointment. So that's all in that email that I just posted in the chat. Any other announcements or new business before we wrap things up, folks? Board members, anybody got anything else to share?
I will just reiterate for a third time the importance of folks going to the link for the Smart Community Development Fund. I just want to emphasize that again and again because, you know, we're a very transparent organization. You can see everything that we do. All the funds that we use go directly toward helping our community. You know, what we pay as a membership fee, $50 a year, is a very small sum for the services that are provided that support everyone in the community. So I just want to, you know, if you can, obviously, if you can't, you can't. But for those who can, I just want to continue to emphasize how critical that is. We know that we're fighting against some forces that don't always have our best interests at heart in the county. So we need to be prepared to battle not only the Project for the View, but other efforts that may come up, as well as some proactive measures that we're looking at to actually invest in smart community development. So I just want to emphasize that one more time.
Thanks, Daryl. Anything else, guys?
Yes. John, I'm not happy.
Hey, Jesse.
With this discussion that we had with these two, the representative from the Sheriff Department and the CHP. I'm not, they're doing their job, but like I wrote in the chat, it reminds me of the situation with this insurrection at the Capitol, where everybody was, this department didn't have this information, another department had some other kind of information. I don't think we should be sitting here, everybody with a list of numbers, supposedly calling a whole list of numbers every time we come back. So now we come to something else that, I mean, it's clear that what the county needs or somebody needs is a better kind of system in terms of community policing that actually ties together these agencies. I shouldn't be sitting here at home trying to figure out which one of these agencies call and then asking them, should I call these other people too? I think we need to put some effort into not just our particular concerns, but we need to put some effort into the county getting some better integration here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 110%, Jesse. We did not circulate that information with the intention of saying, you know, this should be our task. We're simply saying that if you want to get some attention put on your issue, these are the folks that need to hear from us. So, point well taken.
Well, and the other thing is, so I have this thing from I'm also not clear about
You're going in and out, Jesse. Looks like you got muted. Hang on one second. Can you unmute yourself? Go
Yeah.
ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the whole thing with Wayfair, the net with Wayfair is that nobody is responsible to anybody. There is no accountability.
No, that's not true. That's not
Well,
true. Where we left it was the number 2 person at DCFS was going to look into conducting some oversight and circle back with us. We just have not heard back from them yet.
well, I think they need to do more than oversight, because the whole thing, their focus is 100% on the facility. They aren't focused on the people around them. And I don't want to hear that they're going to hire another security person. I don't want to hear that think they have solved the problem, because they can't solve the problem until they talk with people outside the as well.
Absolutely.
And that's really what bothers me.
Absolutely. It sounds like you need to be on that committee, because in the conversations we've had with Tracy and our neighbors on that committee, they're absolutely committed to making sure that they hear from our voices, and specifically those people that live immediately adjacent to Wayfinder.
Well, the thing is, I don't even live adjacent to it, and I was really shocked that other people didn't know how bad it's become. Because I mean, I'm not living on Angeles Vista or Escalon, and yet I can see every time I go anywhere down near there. In fact, I don't even go that way if I can avoid it. I'm going down Mount Vernon. I'm going down Stocker. I'm going every which way to avoid that intersection at Escalon and Athenian Way. I used to catch the bus to go to high school. So I think this is silly. I think, it's not about just, it's a neighborhood problem. It really is. And
Yep. That's exactly why we formed a committee to deal with it.
okay. Well, I've had my say. I'll mute myself.
Anything else? All right, guys. You all know how to find us. We're easy to track down via email, phone, and regular old US mail. Look for us in a month on February 20th. And in the meantime, continue to stay safe. And oh, Joanne is asking for music. I didn't have any music tuned up for you guys. Joanne, are you putting pressure on me to pick something on the fly? We'll have some music for you guys next time. All right.
Pardon me, John.
Say that again.
Excuse me.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, John. This is Eva Sutton.
Hi, Mrs. Sutton.
Fine. I'm glad. I appreciate the gentleman who spoke about the development fund. Actually, no one has approached me about any dues for the last 5 years, I think, or last 3 years anyway. And give me the address. I'm going to mail you a check right now. I'm sitting here to send you something for the development fund.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Would you repeat the address, mailing address again, please?
Sure. It's 4859 West Slauson Avenue, number 333. And that's LA 90056. And you can, if you're paying dues, it's $50, and you can make it payable to UHA II. And either way, it'll get to where it needs to go. But if you want to make a donation to the Community Development Fund, just put on there UHA II Community Development Fund, and that way we'll know how to book it.
All right, and that's UHA II. Is that
Roman numeral II?
Roman numeral II.
Yes, right. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank
you.
All right. And I see somebody just posted about our neighbor, Mr. Lumpkin, passing away. We heard about that, one of the last few Tuskegee Airmen. So God bless him. And, to everybody who's lost a loved one or a family member, they are always on our hearts and not far from our minds. Mr. Covington, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hey, just one quick thing. If any of are the sheriffs on here at all, or?
I saw Captain Young pop up. Oh yeah, Captain Young is still on. I don't know if Sarge is still on.
I was just trying to see if we're going to have another neighborhood shredding event, which would be helpful.
Oh, the thing that the county sponsors?
Yeah, that would raise some money for them as well. But I mean, I'm in sure need of some shredding if
Okay.
When that next is going to be available. That would be, maybe even the CHP could give one if they wanted to, and get some funding going, some support from neighborhood people that need to get stuff shredded.
Yep. That's a good idea. You can contact me separately, Charles, if you want to. I've got a service that I've used before that's pretty good. If you,
Okay.
you know.
Well, I just wanted to kind of get some money to their hands if they're going to do another event as well.
Yeah, we need to have a separate conversation about what we need to do to unplug some resources to get to our local CHP and sheriff's
Right.
folks, and that, we'll have that one offline.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
Anything else, folks? All right. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks. And Joanne, we'll have some music teed up next time.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Take care. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe out there.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Thank you. Great meeting.
Thanks.
Certainly was.
Very informative and much appreciated.
That sounds like my mom
I
talking.
was just going to say that.
It is.
Hi, beautiful.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Bert,
Yeah.
how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
All right. Thank you, John, for all that you do.
Hey, thank you, Triple OG Tony. We appreciate you and your leadership from years gone by, man. That means a lot.
All right, my
Good.
brother. Thank you.
All right. You guys take care.
Okay.
Happy
Bye-bye.
New Year, everybody. Bye.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Stay safe, everyone.